Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Hogarth's Global Astrology. Know your planets, know yourself, know your nation, know yourself. The two are interchangeable. Now, all of you who are joining us this evening, you will see there is a new face here. And I want to introduce to everyone a young Vedic astrologer. So he does Vedic astrology like myself. His name is Anatoly, and he is from Bulgaria. And we've been speaking over a few months. I saw Natalie's channel. I thought it's really cool, and I thought it'd be really nice to introduce some more Vedic astrologers to you. So first of all, Natalie, I want to say welcome. Thanks for joining the live. And if you could just say a little bit about yourself. I understand you're based in Amsterdam. Is that correct?
Yes, thank you for having me. It's a great pleasure. I'm speaking with you for a few months, so it is a great pleasure to be here with you. I'm from Bulgaria, but I live in Amsterdam, and I'm a Vedic astrologer since 2016. I started in 2016, and I created my YouTube channel in 2020. I have two books, which are simplified Vedic astrology. Vedic astrology is in simple, and nakshatras in Vedic astrology is in simple. You can find them in Amazon. And yeah, what else? I think this is enough for now. I'm nervous because it's my first collaboration and the first.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't do that a lot, and it's a great pleasure to be my first collaborator.
No problem. Don't worry, you're in safe hands. My audience know me well. We do lives, all the time and stuff like that. So don't worry, everything will go smoothly, but it will go very quickly. So for those of you that are regular viewers to my channel, I also want to say thank you as well to all the new subscribers. Basically, as you guys know, I often have questions and stuff printed out ready in advance. So there is a combination, Natalie, where we're going to be talking, of course, mainly about the eclipses.
Okay.
Mainly as well about the very important conjunction coming up, guys, between Jupiter and Uranus. This is very significant. And there's some stuff that I've learned recently, and this is actually from a Western tropical astrologer called Dan Waits, and I'll be describing what he's observed, which is absolutely mind-blowing and connected with the eclipses as well. And later on in the show, if we've got a bit of time, we might look at Joe Biden's chart, Kamala Harris, and we might look at Trump's chart as well. Anatoly doesn't normally do like a lot of the mundane astrology and stuff, but he's going to contribute his insights. I'll be sharing their charts on the screen, and we'll both be discussing maybe where the eclipses are falling for all three of those people and where that Uranus conjunction is happening as well, because that will make a big impact. Okay, so Natalie, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. I opened the charts too, so we can start.
Perfect. And just so you know, Natalie and I use slightly different charts. In Vedic astrology, you have the South Indian style, which is the rectangular boxes, which I use, and Natalie uses the North Indian style, which looks like diamonds. So it's very different. Okay, so this question's come in from Nicola. Thank you so much, Nicola, for your question. And she's saying here, Chiron is going to be influential during the eclipse in April. What significance will it have? And will it be particularly strong for some signs more than others? So, Natalie, do you use Chiron in your charts? Are you familiar with Chiron?
I'm familiar with Chiron, but I don't use it in the Vedic chart. I'm using just the outer planets, maximum the outer planets. But I'm following the Chiron transit because it's over my moon. And when Chiron is over your moon, you have a lot of emotional issues. So I know about Chiron, but I think do you follow Chiron in, do you mix Vedic and Western? Great, cool.
Yes, I do. So I include the outer planets like yourself, but I also include Ceres and Chiron because I find them almost too important to leave out, because they add an extra layer of understanding. But for those that may not be familiar with the term Chiron, so Chiron is essentially a large asteroid that orbits between Mars and Jupiter, if I remember correctly. No, I think it's further out. It might be between Jupiter and Saturn. I think Ceres is between Mars and Jupiter, but it's a large asteroid body, and its orbit takes around about 50 years to go around the sun. But Chiron is the wounded healer, the wounded healer. So it can denote things to do with health and healing, or things that are difficult to heal. And Nicola's asking, is it going to be influential during the eclipse? I would say any planets involved in an eclipse, I'm sure you'll agree, Anatoly, often their signification comes up more strongly. So when we think of these eclipses coming up with this theme of health and healing, what does that stimulate in you? What does that make you think about?
With the Chiron, with the involvement of, definitely, basically, this eclipse for me is a little bit more positive than the eclipse in the autumn. And I can tell you why. Because the eclipse includes Rahu, and it is in the nakshatra, in the constellation Revati. And you know that Revati is very positive nakshatra. It's give you the way, it shows you the path. So I think there can be a healing process in this eclipse too. Especially it is, according to Vedic Astrology, it is in Pisces, right? The end of the Pisces. So I see it more positively. I don't know about you, but I think there can be, the issue is that the things that are going on in Aries, I mean, the Jupiter-Uranus, then in Aquarius, Saturn and Mars conjunction in Aquarius, this can create a big issue in mundane, in a worldly manner. But this eclipse still has this good vibe for me because of Revati. It can give you it can show you what we need to do in order to find the healing, or to find the peace, or to heal the world, or to heal ourselves in some way.
Wow.
I don't know if you agree with this, but I like Rahu. Rahu is the north node of the moon, but your audience knows about Vedic astrology and Western astrology. I can use Rahu and Ketu. Is that okay?
Sure, yes. So Rahu is the north node of the moon, guys, and Ketu is the south node of the moon. But those of you who have been watching my channel, or other Vedic astrologers, yes, they'll know. But it could be new.
Yeah, so when Rahu is, especially in my personal experience, when Rahu is included in an eclipse, it always gives you opportunities, but you have to pay the price. Of course, the eclipse is always is coming with a price, but Rahu is the head without body that always wants to eat more and more and more. So I think there can be a lot of opportunities. Of course, you have to pay the price.
Yeah.
And in the autumn, probably you have analyzed already that in the autumn, eclipse is a little bit more difficult because of Ketu, and then the debilitated retrograde Mars, and 2025 is another, I think, will be very difficult year.
Right. Yes. Interesting. And we will be talking as well about the eclipses in 2025. But you've just actually stimulated my memory, Anatoly. So when you're talking about, because Rahu also represents innovation, new things. Something I saw today, which was published on the BBC News last week sometime. So of course, within that eclipse energy, because we know they happen a couple of the energy starts to build a couple of weeks before the eclipse, and then they extend. Guess what? They said that they might have come up with a cure for HIV. Have you heard about this?
I've heard that I heard this in the news. Yeah.
Because Rahu can also represent technology, innovation, new things. He's one of the co-rulers of Aquarius. So Aquarius is ruled by Saturn in old money, Rahu, and Uranus. But Rahu, Aquarius represents science, innovation, stuff like that. Rahu is part of this eclipse with Chiron, and literally they said, I think they're going to use what is the term? It's this type of gene technology where I think they've created a special type of enzyme that will go into the cell and kind of destroy the
The
virus there and leave the other cells. I can't remember it exactly, guys. I'll put it in the video description. I'm not sure if I've remembered to do the BBC one, but I'll put that in the video description afterwards, and you guys can click on that. So I think the eclipses, that Rahu energy is already bringing maybe some positives already.
And for sure, there can be a lot of positive innovations in aerospace and nuclear power too.
Ah, yes.
Or there can be some other events related to nuclear power, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a very good point. And this is why it's so nice to talk with a fellow Vedic astrologer as well, because you remind me of some of the other, you know, the associations that the nodes of the moon have. And yes, Rahu is associated with aerospace and stuff like that. The nodes of the moon are very unusual, but Rahu can be very cutting edge and advanced. All right. Oh, great answer there. Great answer there. So that's that. I'm just going to see who's in the chat, Anatoly, because I like to bring people in. So who do we have here? Let me press here. So we've got, someone's just said it. Here we are. Hello, Patricia. Thank you so much for joining me here. Thank you, Phyllis. It's called CRISPR technology. Thank you. I couldn't think of it at the time. So that is the technology that's actually being used, Anatoly, to kind of go in and attack the virus. But I think this could help with all kinds of viruses and difficult diseases, potentially cancers as well. Wouldn't surprise me, wouldn't it? Let's see here. We've got here Catherine saying, hello to you two and everyone in the chat. Thank you for joining us, Elizabeth. And we've got a few people here, people saying hello, Cheryl Simpson. And this, of course, is all new for you, is it, Natalie? Because you're...
I never used this program. It's very nice. I mean, yeah.
It's kind of cool, isn't it? So Joji is saying, just read that Biden administration is loaning over $1 billion to a nuclear power plant to be restarted in Michigan. So look at that, Natalie. You were just talking about nuclear, how Rahu can bring these things. Look at that. You have it here confirmed. So there you are. The energy is working already. Okay, are you ready for the next question?
Oh, yes, I'm ready. I hope I can answer.
I'm sure you can. I'm sure you can. I'm sure you can. So let's see here. So this is coming from Sonia Ross, Intuitive Messenger. Thank you, Sonia, so much for your question. So she says, hi, Hogarth. Can you please explain the upcoming alignment of about 8 planets in one sign? In tropical, it's in Aries, but you mentioned on Hogarth, so that's the show I do every Saturday. It will be in Pisces. That's where it actually is. Can you please say more about this and what it will mean for us? Thank you. So, Natalie, I'm not sure if you've looked that far ahead, but as you know, folks, the eclipses last for about 18 months.
Yeah.
That's how long the Rahu and Ketu stay in one sign. So for the next 18 months, the eclipses will be happening in sidereal Pisces and sidereal Virgo. On the 29th/30th of March, 2025, yeah, okay. And Natalie, there is a huge stellium happening in sidereal Pisces. Oh, are you going to look it up on your chart?
Yeah, I put it, I wanted to see. Yeah, you can explain to me. I just want to have the chart on my computer too. You mean about Rahu, Neptune, Saturn, Mercury, Venus conjunction?
Yeah, that's the one. So on that day, depending on which hour one looks at it, but this is a conjunction with Saturn, Rahu, Venus retrograde, Neptune, Mercury retrograde, Sun and Moon. So that's seven factors, 7 grahas, as we refer to them in Vedic astrology. And Chiron is here as well. So I'm referring to this as the Great Awakening. I think it's going to be absolutely epic. This is only really a couple of months after the American president, assuming all goes well, would have been chosen. They would have been inaugurated in January. But Anatoly, what does that make you think of when you think of this, a huge stellium like that involving these planets in Pisces?
I didn't.
Vedic.
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't check I didn't analyze the whole combination conjunction, but I analyzed the period from the end of 2024 till the beginning of 2025, and the conjunction of Rahu and Saturn in Pisces, which is Rahu and Saturn is a rare conjunction, not so rare, but the last time it appeared was in 1968 or 69. And during these years, there were a lot of assassination. Martin Luther King was assassinated. Robert Kennedy was assassinated. There were a lot of massacres around the world. The Vietnamese War, I mean, American Vietnamese War. And there were a lot of riots. So we can expect events that are similar to this.
Wow.
For sure, because Rahu and Saturn will be conjunct together. And as far as I see on my chart, this big conjunction of Rahu, Saturn, Venus, retrograde Mercury, retrograde Neptune, it is happening in between Uttara Bhadrapada and Purva Bhadrapada. These are the nakshatras which are very difficult nakshatras. They are very intense. And especially Purva Bhadrapada is one of the most out-of-box nakshatras. And, you know, I don't know whether you know, but the deity is Aja Kapada. Have you heard it about that?
Yeah.
The goat, which is a symbol of the devil in Illuminati society, something like that. So definitely it will be interesting. There can be, of course, some tragic event that can wakes us up, right? And helps us healing. But for sure, due to Neptune, there can be a lot of lies, fake news, and maybe there can be something with I mean, when Neptune is involved, there can be always something like a fog or something like a virus, why not, or water and everything like that. I don't know what will happen when there are so many planets in one point. This creates a different, very, very different energy. And especially if you have planets in your natal chart around these degrees, the beginning of Pisces, for sure you have to be more careful, and especially if you're in the dasha of these planets.
Wow.
Right.
Wow. Very interesting. So, and you can see everyone, like Anatoly was nervous, but he needn't be nervous because you can tell he knows his stuff. Yeah. And it's very interesting because, again, you remind me that this is happening in the Bhadrapada. So just to give everyone a context, guys, the signs of the zodiac are each sign is basically made up of 2 1/4 nakshatras, 2 1/4 parts, but essentially 3 different energies. Many of you will have seen this illustration now, which is going to be in my book, but just to show you guys here, these are the nakshatras, these are the padas, these are the Gandanta points. I don't think, Anatoly, you would have seen this, but this is an illustration that I produced. And
this is your picture?
Yes, yeah.
Nice.
Thank you. You can see it on my community thing. But to show you the Bhadrapadas, yeah. So here, guys, here are the Bhadrapadas. So Revati is the last nakshatra, yeah. Ashwini is the first. Here are the Bhadrapadas that are in Pisces. Do you see here? So we can see the planetary ruler. These are the padas. Now, the Bhadrapadas are often referred to as the front and back legs of the funeral cot. So I know that sounds a bit sinister, guys, but that is what this part of sky does deal with. So, of course, when you have a Rahu-Saturn conjunction there, yes, that can be quite malefic. And Anatoly is absolutely right. 1968 was when a lot of this kind of stuff was going on. And, of course, there was a lot of intensity. So there will be tremendous intensity. But we also need to understand Neptune will be in his own sign of co-rulership because he co-rules Pisces as well. So there'll be some positives. So I'm expecting lots of news as well to do with water, water events, the oceans, the seas. There'll be clearly something going on with the media as well, because Mercury will be retrograde, of course, which deals with media and stuff. Venus will be retrograde, which also deals with relationships, diplomacy, trade, goods, services. Saturn is rules and regulations. So it's going to be very intense, folks, but it's going to be enlightening as well. Anything you'd like to add to that, Anatoly, that comes to your mind?
No, I think I said everything about that. I have to analyze it more deeply when I have time, because you know when Mercury is debilitated in Pisces, this but Venus is exalted in Pisces. This creates yoga that cancel the debilitation, but it's still retrograde, and there will be huge event for sure. And everything starts from the eclipse of 2024, but not the April one. It starts from the
October one.
October, which is I think the difficult one. Although the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction will show the first, and Saturn-Mars conjunction in April will show the first signs that something is happening. But I don't know whether it will influence directly us, the people, the normal people. Maybe in a worldly manner, maybe the politician, maybe the people who are ruling the world will feel it, but not the normal people. It's at the beginning, probably.
Yeah, it's a very good point. And just to elaborate on what Anatoly said there, the moon in general is associated with the people, the populace, everyday life, the emotions, more of that, that mundane life that we all recognize. Solar eclipses are more in particular associated with leaders and leadership, CEOs, and people in positions of power. So to give, I think a good example of what's happened with the lunar eclipse, Anatoly, which has been very interesting. Of course, I mean, I don't even want to go into the details of it, but you will know that there has been a lot of news and press about a certain princess, Princess Catherine in the UK. Exactly. It went absolutely global, but this again was very much with the energy of the moon, because the moon deals with the masses. Also, as well, the moon is tidal, deals with the tides, water, etc. And you may not know this, Anatoly, but there was a very tragic accident recently, just a day and a half ago, where a cargo ship crashed into one of the pillars on one of the bridges in Baltimore. Did you see that? And the whole thing collapsed.
But where is that? Is this in UK or it is in United States?
In the USA, in a state called Baltimore, and it was very shocking to see. So there's a Vedic astrologer, you may know him as well, Anatoly, called Sam Jeppy. So he's an American Vedic astrologer. He did a video on that. I might put a link in there where he gave some insights into that, so we can see those energies at play. But the lunar eclipse, of course, is on April 8th. And this is one of the main parts of the discussion, of course, where the shadow will go through Texas. So the eclipse in October 2023 went through Texas that way. Mm-hmm. And this one on April 8th, 2024 is going the other way. Yeah.
You mean the solar eclipse, right?
The solar eclipse, yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So they're crossing each other. So I'll go into some of the detail, but what are your instinctive responses when you think of essentially kind of X marking the spot? What do you think that means for Texas? And then I'll go into some details.
To be honest, I'm not sure what that means for Texas, but for sure, when I check the United States chart, it is happening in the fourth house, the house of territory, the house of nation, the opposition. So definitely there can be issue with the territory. There can be some issues probably with immigration, because in Pisces there can be some issues with water, or as far as I heard that Texas want to separate from United States, and there are some theories about that. And definitely this eclipse on 8th of April happening with X can show that there can be a lot of tension. and there can be things happening. But I don't think there will be a separation of United States at this point. I don't know. It depends on the people. I believe the power of people, they will decide. And of course, there are tendencies. For sure, I see the chart that there can be issues with the nation, a lot of riots, a lot of protests, problems with the territory, and the people from this territory.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
How do you analyze it, this 6?
Well, I've been talking about this eclipse on my channel for a little while. And before it even happened, actually, people would have to go back. I was talking about these eclipses, I think in September 2023. I think it was probably when I did the first video. And I said, look, X marks the spot. And I said, there's going to be big news coming out of Texas, particularly things to do with immigration, the border, and all of that stuff, which really has been the case so far. But there's even more. So I'll share some information that has come to me recently, which has actually been put up by another astrologer, like I said, called Dan Waits. Now, this is really out there, Anatoly, and everyone who's watching, this is really out there, but this is actually a thing, yeah? And I'll explain. One of the things that makes this eclipse so significant is not only is it X marks the spot going through Texas, and Texas is very important for various reasons that I'll explain. There's also a comet that is going to be happening nearby the eclipse. And when the conjunction of Uranus and Jupiter becomes exact between April 20th and April 22nd, the comet is said to be passing through between those two planets. So this is extraordinary. Generally, guys, this is a once in a lifetime eclipse. None of us will ever live long enough to see the same thing happen again. To have this kind of eclipse plus have a comet kind of going through it. All right, so they're referring to this comet as the Devil's Comet. Have you heard of this? They're calling it the Devil's Comet, which is a bit ominous, isn't it? Right. Yeah. Okay. So let's see. So I'll just give some context. So it's also known as 12P/Pons Brooks. I think that's the official name of the comet. So I put here, it will be part of the eclipse and the Uranus-Jupiter conjunction between April 20th and 22nd. It was in 1954 that it was last reached its perihelion, which means closest approach to the sun. And I've put the article. In fact, actually, I need to put the article in the description. But the article that I got this from states that gas at that time, petrol, cost 29 cents per gallon, and the top grossing movie was A White Christmas. Yeah, so we're talking, this is 1954. Yeah, the last time it was seen. But for me, I think the comet is talking about, I think, quite a lot of the dark stuff that is going on in the world. And I've recently, there has been this news article. So again, you may not be so familiar with American news, Anatoly, but there's a channel called MSNBC. Have you heard of it?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can.
So it's a big channel. Like a lot of us political people watch it and stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, on there is a presenter called Joy Reid, and Joy Reid talks about this group, which is called what is it called? There is this group. They're called SACR, or actually that is an abbreviation. Let me just find what their proper name is. What is it? What are they called? 1 minute. I'm just finding. Oh, crikey. I can't remember what it's called. Basically, it's this elite group. So an acronym is SACR. So I can't remember what it's called now. I can't see my notes here where it is. But basically, what they're wanting to instigate is something called a national divorce. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? And I've put the link, guys, in the video description so you can see Joy Reid talking about this. And she interviewed someone. I made the notes on this, and I cannot see my notes where it actually spells out what this thing is. You know what? I think I put them in the thingy bob. Anyway, it's this elite group, which is men only, and men only of a certain type. And one of their plans is to kind of install a certain type of Christianity state in America. That's what they plan to do. So if you guys, let me know in the comments if you know about this, if you saw the that thing by Joy Reid. And the comet was first spotted in 1812 by French astronomer Jean-Louis Pons. But 1812 was also when America declared war against the United Kingdom. So it's a very, the energy is kind of a bit intense. Oh, there they are. They're called the Society for American Civic Renewal. And the guy who wrote the column is called Josh Kovensky. Yeah. And it's the magazine is called Talking Point Memo. So guys, check that out. These are also the people that are connected with Project 25, the Claremont Institute, and the Heritage Foundation for entertainment purposes only. So what are your thoughts when you hear that, Anatoly?
Oh, it's a little bit scary to hear that there are such ideas. But, you know, it's Pisces thing. I mean, yeah, someone is commenting or...
Yeah, Lisa Ashton, Society for American Civic Renewal, yeah. Sorry, go on, Anatoly.
Yeah, it's a more like Pisces thing. You know, there is about societies, about religion, Christianity. And this is something that is, I mean, I don't have such specific opinion because I don't know in details what is this about, but looks like how it is when the Second World War, the fascists created this type of ideology, which is not okay. But we can expect this type of things when the eclipses are in Pisces.
Yeah.
Or at least ideas like that. And Pisces is Christianity in some way. You know, this is the Christian, this is the zodiac sign related with Christianity.
Yes, this is true. I also put that as well, associated with Christianity, but also as well the Abrahamic religions in general, because that's been their, Pisces has been rising as a sign, of course, for the last 2,000 years. And we're now coming to the end of Pisces, going into Aquarius. So the way I'm reading that energy is like, it's like the old guard is trying to hold on. They feel the change coming and they feel the new age coming. And it's like they're doing their best to hold on. And by the way, Donald Trump has started selling Bibles. Have you heard of this?
No. Why? Because he needs money or what? I heard he has some issues that he has to pay something, some kind of lawsuits, or I'm not sure what exactly, but he has issues with the government and the law.
Yeah, this is true. Recently, though, here's an appeal court cut the amount that he needed to pay, because he needed to pay almost $500 million. They cut it by 62%. And they've given him 10 days extra to pay the reduced amount. So I've got quite strong opinions on this. And, you know, when you just look at all of these different kind of things going on. So I feel like these eclipses are very, very significant. And I really do feel this is like a turning point for humanity, in the sense of how are we going to use this energy going forward. I don't think it's the end of the world, but I think it is a big warning, and I think it's another opportunity for people to kind of wake up and realize, you know, what's going on. I'm sure you would agree. I'm sure you would agree with that.
Yeah, of course. I think that we have the power to change the world. That's why, you know, there is free will. And when we know the tendencies, we can change the things that are happening in our world. But of course, I'm not sure whether the people in their mass, in the masses, are enough spiritually developed, and they prefer, you know, most of the people, they want to eat, to drink, to go and have fun and vacations, and so these events are for people who have to be spiritually and intellectually developed. Only
Yeah.
these type of people can be, I mean, the awakened people.
Indeed, indeed. So Angela Locke saying, "Oh my God, bloody hell!" Yeah. Someone says, Joe G said, Rump is planning a rally in Green Bay, Wisconsin, on the same day of the primary, voting on April 2nd. But then someone here has said, Cash Peters sees the nuts going back underground when they are thwarted. So just so you know, Cash Peters, Anatoly, he's excellent. He's a YouTuber. He makes these he doesn't call himself a psychic, but he does these illustrations of impressions he gets of the future. Remarkable, very, very interesting channel. And he sees things maybe rising, but then America actually emerging. So and I really hope that is the case. But I think we're going to see a lot of this energy building, guys, particularly during and after the election as well, because there are sadly a lot of these darker forces that are essentially wanting to create a neo-fascist Christian caliphate. I mean, that's their plan. And now it's becoming more and more clear. So I'm hoping that will also wake up a lot of the electorate for them to realize what's at stake. And let me tell you, if Duck Larange, that I call him Duck Larange Trump, if Trump is starting to sell Bibles, yeah, something's up. And here is a famous quote, which is attributed to Sinclair Lewis. There is some debate about who truly said it, but most searches show up Sinclair Lewis. And this is what he has said, allegedly. When fascism comes to America, it will be wrapped in the flag and carrying a cross. Yeah, there's that. And then there's another version. Which says, when fascism comes to the United States, it will be wrapped in the American flag and will claim the name of 100% Americanism. Either way, do you see that they're very, very similar? And I actually put here as well in my notes on Pisces. Pisces is also spirituality, duality, the two fish, the Abrahamic religions, but also illusions, delusions, and victims, but waters, animals, and psychic powers. So I think a lot of that could be true at the same time. All right, so let's see. We've talked about. All right, do you want me to tell you, Anatoly, about the sacred red cows and how that's involved with something happening in Israel?
Of course, I'm waiting.
Let me like, so guys,
your sky became red. Your sky became red.
Oh, did it? Did it when I was talking?
But previously was red when you said you're gonna speak about the blood.
Oh, really? Yeah, it's now I I can't take credit for this, so and that's totally fine. And I love to credit other astrologers and their work. And I also look at Western astrologers as well, because any good, talented astrologer, we can all arrive at similar places. So this I attribute to Dan Waits. Dan Waits Astrology. He's a Western tropical astrologer, and I think he's also collaborated with Andre's astrology, which many of you who watch Linda G, you will know Andre. Now listen to this. Now I've put this in the video description, guys. It's probably best you watch that video. He gets a lot of information in that 10 minutes. So I'm just going to read this down. Stick with me on this, because this is really quite mind-blowing. Okay, so this is to do with the Red So some red heifers. So that means some red cows. They're not this color red, but they're kind of rusty red. Yeah. Have I'll put it in context. Have been delivered to Israel. But I'll explain. So let me just see how I put my notes here. So let's see here. So according to part of the religious Jewish scripture, there is a book called the Book of Numbers of the Hebrew Bible. There we are. States that to build the third temple. So have you heard about the third temple, Anatoly? Sorry if this is new for you. This is quite new for me as well. The third temple is a concept of rebuilding the second temple, I think of King Solomon or something like that, on the Temple Mount. So we're talking about Jerusalem now. Yeah, Jerusalem and all.
Yeah.
Say again?
I've been to Jerusalem, but I don't know anything about the temples. I mean, maybe I've been there, but I don't know this theory about the third temple.
Right. Okay. It is quite niche, and it is sort of a very kind of religious. Anyway, so the Book of Numbers states that to build the third temple, Israel must sacrifice a red heifer without defect or blemish, and that has never been under a yoke. Yeah. So that means a cow that's never had to work, basically. So the perfect cow must then be burned and mixed with water, which can be used to purify the Jews that will then work on building the third temple. Yeah. So that, do you get that? That gives the context.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're probably thinking like, huh? What is this all about? Gets more interesting. A Christian farmer from Texas. Yeah. Called Brian Steinson has produced not one, but 5 such cows. Those cows are called Texas Red Angus. I kid you not. They were shipped to Israel in September 2022, and they're kept on the settlement on the West Bank, kept by a guy called Yitzhak Mamo. And this was reported on CB News America. This is extraordinary. And they say a massive altar has also been constructed where the cows are to be burned, and the special priests hired to perform the ceremony on the Mount of Olives overlooking the Temple Mount, which is where the Al-Aqsa Mosque sits right now. Yeah. So there's actually a Muslim mosque on the original Temple Mount. Did you know about this?
No, I didn't know that.
I know it's a bit intense, isn't it? Stay with me here. Stay with me here. So all of this is planned for Passover. Yeah. Allegedly, this is planned for Passover. Now, what's even more interesting, apparently there's been excavation works happening under the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and they're saying there's cracks appearing in the mosque. But the excavation work has not been stopped, allegedly, according to the news reports. So what is remarkable is this ceremony is probably going to happen on Passover. Passover is April 22nd this year. That's also the conjunction between Uranus and Jupiter. Jupiter is also what? The planet of spirituality, religion, laws. Uranus is sudden shocks and surprises. Jupiter also deals with the law, and that's also the day where the SCOTUS is also going to decide what happens with Trump, if he's going to be culpable or not. Don't you just find that absolutely extraordinary?
Yeah. But they're planning to build the temple on the place of the mosque.
Well, they can't because the mosque is there.
Yeah, but they're going to burn the cows?
Yes. The cows will be burned, the ceremony will be performed, but I'm worried about what this could potentially unleash, because Uranus is unusual, shocks and surprises, strange things. Uranus also deals with earthquakes and political earthquakes as well. So I'm kind of like, yeah, I know it just sounds extraordinary, doesn't it? But this is true. Like, this is happening, folks. And I'm just like, wow.
It's happening in Kritika Nakshatra, so it will be a little bit sharp. Yeah.
It's happening in Kritika Nakshatra.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Which is,
Wow.
it can be very religious, you know, Agni, the god of the deity of fire, but it's related with weapons, guns, so with killing of children too.
Oh,
I don't
oh
know.
my God.
It's part of the mythology, right? Agni
True.
and Kritikeya and the sixth wife and the 16.
True.
Yeah. It's a little bit. On one hand, this nakshatra can create spiritual warrior, so there can be positive things, but on the other hand, it can create fights and wars.
Wow. Wow. Also, as well, Kritika Nakshatra is to do with ritual purification as well.
Yeah.
So, and Kritika Nakshatra, the deity is called Agni, everyone. Agni is the god of fire, and they're talking about burning the cows. Kritika Nakshatra also goes over into Taurus, which is the bull.
Yeah.
Do you know what?
The animal that controlled this nakshatra, because I forgot the animal of Kritika, but let me see. Female sheep. Okay, cool. Or goat.
But it's still an animal, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wow. Because Kritika goes from Aries, everyone, over into Taurus. It's one of those nakshatras that crosses in between. And so, yeah, we know as well that Taurus, of course, is the bull. Aries, we all know the ram also deals with war as well. And oh my goodness. I know this might seem a bit dark, folks. So, you know, obviously, you know, we want to try and maybe end on something a bit more kind of like uplifting, but you can see here when you look at it from the Vedic perspective, isn't it? That's quite interesting. And I want to thank Dan Waits for that. Really, honestly, guys, check out his video. It's only 10 minutes long. My jaw was on the floor. I was just like, wow. And he showed the news clips of the footage. So this isn't conspiracy theory. It's not made up. Those heifers are, they are in Israel and they are going to be sacrificed during Passover. Will it make the news? I don't know. We're probably going to be talking about Trump because that's the same day SCOTUS makes their proclamation. But I'm certainly going to be keeping my eyes open because I find that astonishing. And the fact that Trump is selling Bibles, what are they called? It's called God Bless the USA Bibles, and they're selling for $59.99. You can't make it up. You can't make it up. All right, so shall we take a look then? I hope that hasn't spooked you out too much, folks, but we are living in intense times, but you know, we bring you this knowledge as best we can. In fact, actually, Hamas said that was one of the reasons why they attacked Israel as well, by the way, because of the cows. He's got footage of that as well. So it's really quite deep. But let's look at some of the, let's look at maybe like Joe Biden and Trump and Kamala Harris's charts. So shall we take a look at Joe Biden's chart? Do you have his chart? I mean, I can actually pull his chart up.
Yeah, you can, for your viewers, you can pull your chart. I already opened it on my computer.
Perfect. Let's have a little look. Let's do entire screen. I hope you guys have been enjoying the show. I know it's got a little bit dark, but you know, we're dealing with some intense energies right now. So let's go here. Let's get this chart up. 1 second, Anatoly. I'm just going to move this a little bit. Here we go. Can you see the screen, Anatoly? Can you see it?
Yeah, I can see the screen, but don't worry about the screen. I'm going to check my chart. Don't worry about that. If
Perfect.
Yeah, I can see if maybe your viewers can see it too. Maybe you
Yeah,
can ask.
yeah, I think they can. And everyone, can you see the thing, Bob? I'm going to do the charts now. Let's get Joe Biden's chart open. Let's see where the eclipses are falling for him. Because I think if we look at the eclipses and the Uranus Jupiter conjunction for each, then I think that makes sense, because that shows where the transformation is most likely to be happening. So let's go here. Let's go politics. There we are. And let's find, where's Joe Biden? Here we are, Joe Biden. Open. Here we are. So here's Joe Biden's chart. Now, Anatoly confesses that he doesn't like to try and read the South Indian style. He prefers the North Indian style.
You know that it depends on your natal chart. If you have strong Jupiter, you can read better the South Indian. If you have stronger Venus, you can read the diamond better. I don't know. I have Venus. That's why it's much easier for my brain to accept the diamond shape. I don't know.
How interesting. Yeah, I do have a strong Jupiter, and I prefer the South, but I can read both, but I prefer the South. The South Indian style.
I can read the South Node, but I cannot see the aspects. I mean, I cannot
see
the aspects. Yeah. So I'm going to use my computer for that.
Oh, indeed. And some actually, I can just see here in the comments before it scrolls by. CC Ryder said the appeals court reduced the bond to 175 million. He has 10 days to file the appeal. The original judgment was 454 million. Interest is still in force. So he was facing a $500 million bill, and the courts have stepped in to help him out. Anyway, here we are, though. This is Joe Biden's chart, everyone. Many of you will be familiar with this chart because you've seen me read on it before. But Joe Biden was born on the 20th of November, 1942, 8:30 a.m. I think it was Scranton or Pennsylvania, I think. I can't remember exactly, but anyway, in fact, let me just do file edit, actually just see what state he was born in. Scranton, yeah, Pennsylvania, that's the one, Scranton. So we can see Biden is a Scorpio rising, and he's a triple Scorpio because he's also got the sun here in Anuradha Nakshatra and Venus in Anuradha Nakshatra. So we know his life has been touched by Scorpio type themes around death and rebirth. Venus does represent the wife, and sadly, of course, we all know Joe Biden sadly lost his first wife in a tragic accident. Here, but we can also see he's incredibly devoted because Anuradha Nakshatra is one of the most devoted nakshatras of them all, and it sits in the early part of Scorpio. So looking here, if we look at where the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction will be happening and where the eclipses will be happening, this can give us a little idea. So for Joe Biden, because he's a Scorpio rising, it means if we look here where it says TR, this is where the planets are right now. So Rahu will be going through his 5th house and Ketu will be going through his 11th. So what is the 5th house? The 5th house deals with giving consultation and advice to others, creativity, but famously it's associated with children. So we all know Biden's son, Hunter, has been having a tremendous difficulty recently, particularly as well when Rahu was sitting at the Gandanta point, which is between water and fire. This was in late September, October, November, then the nodes changed and now they're formally in his 5th house. But it also means it gives Biden opportunities. So Anatoly, how do you see how the opportunities Rahu could potentially bring to Biden when he's transiting his 5th house?
Oh, it's a little bit difficult because first, when we are speaking about personal charts, we have to check the dashas. And the most important thing here is Saturn, right? And Saturn is in really good position. But having eclipse in 5th house I think it's a positive thing because, of course, there can be events related with children. In mundane astrology, fifth house sometimes is associated with kings, politicians, and the death of the king.
Oh.
Yeah, which is interesting, but it's not at this moment. We're speaking about the personal chart, but in the mundane astrology, if the fifth house, at least what I studied when I studied astrology, Vedic astrology, my teachers always said to me that fifth house is associated not only with the kings but the death of the king. So the eclipse in the fifth house, I think, I don't think it will be a negative. But of course, the background that we have to analyze this chart is Saturn and the dasha. And you know very well what is Saturn, and Saturn in the seventh house, what can bring. And he is in the dasha of Saturn and subdasha of Saturn, which there can be problems with the masses. And maybe
yeah, go on.
Maybe his age will create some issues, because when person is in the Saturn dasha, he gets no matter the age, you can be 20 years old, but when you go in the Saturn dasha, you feel more mature, you feel more old. And that's why people, for example, if you are 20 years old and you are in the Saturn dasha, you need to learn how to enjoy life. And this will be very difficult for you, because you have a wonderful responsibilities, a lot of duties, and seventh house is marker house. I mean, marker house, right? In Vedic, this is the terminology. The death causing house, second and the seventh and the eighth.
True.
Yeah. So Saturn here is, it's a strong planet
Saturn's
for him.
Also strong.
Yeah, it's very strong because he has power, right?
Yeah, exactly. So his Saturn, yes, it is in the seventh house, but it is also Digbala. And Digbala means planetary strength. So his Saturn here is very strong. Saturn picks up a lot of strength. It's also in the sign of Taurus. But you know what I was thinking, Natalie? What I was thinking is, yes, the fifth house can mean sort of like the death of the king and stuff like that. However, what we need to remember is the fifth house is associated with Leo, which is the fifth sign. Donald Trump is a Leo rising. Donald Trump is the Leo rising, because what we got to remember is it's always not necessarily so literal, is it? Because I've always found the dignity of a planet is what is far more likely to bring something positive. And when you have a planet strong by Digbala, but also by sign, even though it will bring some challenges, it's far more likely to bring something positive. So in a certain way, yes, Biden has been critiqued, hasn't he, for his maturity and stuff like that. But Saturn is also the planet of maturity, endurance. The fifth house is a very lucky house as well. The fifth and the ninth are one of the luckiest houses. And Rahu will always bring something up, bring some kind of opportunity as well. So it could be, I've always believed, as long as Biden is there to the end, I think he can win. But it's like he has to overcome, the challenges. Do you know what I mean? But he'll endure.
He has better chart than Donald Trump for sure. Just there is a problem if you see the other dashas that are coming. Saturn Mercury is in the 12th house, then Saturn Ketu, which is there is I think Biden has a big chance to win the elections, if I'm just checking because Saturn, because of the Saturn, if we are checking just these two charts, right? But I think he will have big health issues, because Mercury is in the 12th house, the house of hospitals. Then we have Ketu and Saturn Ketu, Saturn Mercury dasha, then Saturn Ketu dasha, and Ketu is the final liberation, So I don't know what will happen on the elections. This chart, Biden's chart, looks a little bit more it looks better than if I have to compare Trump and Biden's chart. Biden is more stable. I mean, more stable chart according to the dashas.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know.
All right.
Yeah, but
Oh, sure. Interesting. All right. So that's that. But basically, you would say that Biden's chart is looking definitely more stable, and I think Rahu's going to bring him some luck. Yeah, Rahu can bring luck in the fifth house. So let's see how it goes. But I hope that what I wish for Biden is that he leans into that energy of Saturn in that positive sense. But I think this is more about a marathon rather than the sprint, folks. I think it might be quite close to the end, and then it could be the case of like the slow and steady wins the race. Let's look a bit at Trump, and then we'll see if we can squeeze in Kamala Harris as well.
Jupiter-Uranus will conjunct in his sixth house. There can be some health issue. So
right, yes, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. The sixth house does deal with health and healing, and it's true. That will be happening in his sixth house as well. But also as well, this is also a house of day job as well. And this the moon also deals with the masses. So let's see. Let's see how that goes. But let's take a quick look at Duck L'Orange, as I referred to him, or Donald Trump, as most people know him. Let's see what's going on for him. So let's do open here. Let's have a look. Let's see. Politics. Where is he? CD. Donald Trump. Here we are. Open. So here is Donald Trump's chart, and I hope you guys are finding this interesting. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you would like to know more about Anatoly, his details are in the video description as well. And don't forget to share and all of that kind of stuff. Hope you're finding this interesting. A bit intense. It's a bit intense, but I hope you're finding it interesting. All right, so here's Donald Trump. Donald Trump was born on the 14th of June, 1946 at 10:54 a.m. in Jamaica, Queens, New York. Jamaica in New York, obviously not the real Jamaica, which makes him a Taurus sun sign, only just because many people go, oh, he's a Gemini. Actually, you can see here the sun is at 29 degrees, 49 minutes. If he was born a day later, then yes, he would have been a bona fide sun sign Gemini as well. Now, we know about Duck L'Orange. You've heard me talk about his chart a lot. He has Mars in the first house, conjunct his ascendant and the star Regulus. This is why he's got so much energy, unfortunately, but there you are. Now, when we look here, Anatoly, his eclipses, so the eclipses for him are happening in the 2-8 axis. Now, the second house is also a marker house as well. That's interesting, isn't it? But what do you feel about him having Rahu go through the 8th house for the next 18 months?
It's a difficult transit. 8th house is the house of death and transformation. And when you have a lot of planets transiting 8th house, there can be a lot of humiliation, scandals, hospitals, surgeries, and especially his dasha. The dasha periods are really, really important, and he's in the dasha now in Jupiter Ketu. Jupiter is okay. I mean, Jupiter is okay, but when you are in the sub dasha of Ketu, this always creates issues and problems and lessons that you have to learn. And his Ketu is very strong. It is exalted. It is in Scorpio, and next to the moon. So there can be a lot of issues with the people. And Donald Trump has really difficult dashas. And after Ketu, he has Jupiter Venus, and Venus is in the 12th house, the house of hospitals, prisons. So I think he is in danger, to be honest. I mean, he has to be very careful what he is doing, especially during the eclipses, because Ketu is associated with death and rebirth and final liberation. But if we have to, about the elections. If I see a person who has this type of chart, it will be, I will not think that he is going to win the elections. But he has a few things that are really interesting. First, that he's in the Jupiter Dasha, and Jupiter will be transiting in his 10th house, the house of fame and success and career. So this is a good thing, a good sign. And the other thing, his Venus is in the nakshatra Punarvasu, which is the return of the light. And yeah, and when we're speaking about Punarvasu, this is nakshatra that always makes you fail the first time, and if you try again, you will succeed. This is this is the return of the light. But I don't know. I don't know whether this will happen. But if you know about Trump, the first time he applied for president, I don't know whether it's his application or something like that. So apologies, I'm not very used to the terminology of the USA election terminology. But when you go for the first time, he failed the first time. Then he succeeded on the second time, as far as I know. And now he failed from Biden. And if they're together again, there can be a return of the light. I mean, Punarvasu is really good nakshatra, and that's why when I have people coming to me for consultation, and when I see that they have strong Punarvasu, I always say, if you fail the first time, try again, learn the lesson and try again for sure, because Punarvasu is return of the light. And when you have this, for example, if you have this nakshatra strong, you can, one day you can have millions, the next day you can lose them, on the third day you can win them again.
Well, look, there's these extremes. Now, it's funny you should say that, because Donald Trump has been bankrupt more times than he has children. Yeah, he's been bankrupt at least 6 times. So you know what? I think you make a good point. Now, look, does this mean that he's going to become president again? Not necessarily. But what I would add is this. He also has Saturn and Pluto in the 12th house with that Venus. Now, Saturn for Leo ascendants and Cancer ascendants is a powerful malefic. Yeah. Saturn at the moment is going through his 7th house, which deals with open enemies, litigation, court cases, stuff like that. And it is, sadly as well, it is a marker house as well. What I think could potentially happen is when he goes into his Jupiter-Venus on the 27th of September 2024, that could activate. And one of the things that could potentially happen, this could mean literally going to prison or hospitals, or he may even fake an illness. This is something that I think he might do as well. But let's not forget too that the 12th house is also a house of exile. I've always believed that if things get really, really bad, he may try and escape in some shape or form. So all 3 of those energies could be true. But let's not forget the Pluto here as well, which is that deepness, the god of the underworld, that intensity. We need to remember, like Hades, god of the underworld, going under. Saturn can be punishment and retribution. And that's all going to be activated when he goes into his Jupiter-Venus. So I would agree with Anatoly. Yes, there is the Purnavasu, the return of the light, and he is a very determined person. But this Venus is flanked by Saturn and by Pluto. So it means those energies will activate as well. And we will really have to see. So when we think on the 27th of September 2024, this could be when maybe some of those law cases might actually mature. So we'll have to see, folks. But isn't it interesting, though, seeing Anatoly's perspective, because he doesn't spend a lot of time looking at American politics and stuff, and you can see he's just reading the chart from his perspective as well. So don't worry too much. It doesn't necessarily mean Duck L'Orange is going to win, but we can see his chart is quite challenged. And I think Anatoly does have a point where there's actually quite a strong threat here in Trump's chart as well. So, you know, not so easy. What we'll do is, we've already gone over the hour. Let's have a quick look at Kamala Harris, and then we'll have to call it a day there. So let's see. Let me find her chart, and let's see where things are.
Just to mention,
sure.
Donald Trump has difficult chart. I mean, it will be miracle. I mean, not miracle, but how to say it in English? It will be a surprise if he wins with this chart.
Yeah.
Biden has stronger, and Kamala Harris has the best chart.
Oh, does she? Let's have a look.
Yeah, I think she has really good chart.
Ooh. Okay, well, let's take a look here. So if we see here, so this is Kamala Harris, born on the 20th of October, 1964. And I think she's born, let me just do file, just to see, I'll do file edit, just to see the town. Oakland, California, that's where she's born here. So we'll see here, Kamala is a Gemini rising, and she is Gemini in both Western tropical and Vedic. She has Rahu in the first house at 1 degree and 8 minutes, pretty much exactly conjunct her ascendant, which means her life is more fated, people. She has a more fated life because the nodes of the moon are in the 1-7 axis and exactly on her ascendant. So this means she is a lady who is subject to fate and destiny a bit more than others. Now, for Kamala, the eclipses are actually happening. Rahu's going to be happening in her 10th house and K2 in her 4th. So what's your interpretation of her having Rahu go through the 10th house?
These opportunities in the career, especially. Oh, because there's something with the internet. Do you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. I was saying, what do you think that Rahu going through her 10th house will potentially bring for Kamala?
I think she will have opportunity to get some kind of promotion, or there can be a lot of opportunities in her career, and especially she's in the dasha of Rahu, which is when you're in the planetary period of the dasha, we have to check the transit of this planet, and Rahu is in the first house, the body, the personality, the whole life, and it will be active. It will activate not only the first but the 10, so she will be put in front. And if you see the subdasha is Venus. Her Venus is really strong. It is in Purva Padrapada, not Padrapada, Purva Falguni, I'm sorry. And it is ruled by Venus, and she can be on a stage.
Wow.
Yeah.
Also, I think as well,
there can be sudden events. There can be something sudden happening, and she will be put on the stage.
Wow. Now, if we look here as well, folks, now, although this is here, you see it's Leo, but this is, of course, this is sidereal astrology. And you remember those patterns I showed you in the illustrations, guys? Here, you'll see, if we look here where it says VE, which is Venus, you see here, let me just click across. You will see her Venus is in Purva Falguni. Purva Falguni belongs to Venus. Also as well, Leo is the sign of leadership. And look, here it's with Uranus and Pluto. Pluto deals with power. Uranus deals with unexpected events. So there may be an unexpected event that may catapult Kamala to a higher level, but it may be something unusual, something strange that happens. Obviously, I don't want to make aspersions or whatever on Biden or something like that, but there could be an element here where there is an unusual event or decree or something like that that may take Kamala to a much higher level than people may be expecting. She's already very high because she's the vice president, yeah, but based on her Venus, she'll go into her Rahu Venus, or she's already there on the 6th of February 2024. So she's just gone into that dasha right now. Also as well, the Uranus Jupiter conjunction will be happening with her moon, just like it is for Biden's moon, but this is for her in her 11th house. How do you potentially see that affecting Kamala, Anatoly?
I think she can get more influence and more fame. But fame, I mean, influence among people, because 11th house is fame, influence, and it will be over. I mean, the moon is in the 11th house. So for sure, the masses can be some kind affected by Kamala Harris. And I think she has the best chart comparing to Trump and Biden. I think she has really good chart. The issue here is that she has debilitated Mars and debilitated Sun, which makes her very, I mean, she can be very diplomatic person, and she will not be a rude leader. She will be very practical and diplomatic person, which is really good. I think that world needs more diplomacy, you know, not a person who can have the balance. But I think she will get more influence in some way.
True. And what I would just add, Anatoly, to that, yes, technically the sun in her chart is debilitated because it is in Libra and it's in the first 10 degrees of Libra. However, she also has something which is called Nietzsche Banga yoga, because you'll notice here, Anatoly, that her Venus is in Leo. So her Venus is in the sign of Leo, which belongs to the sun, and the sun is in the sign of Libra, which belongs to Venus. And this is called a Parivartana yoga. They're exchanging energies. And this is also a Nietzsche Banga. So in a funny way, like her sun, although not complete, the debilitation is almost removed, basically, isn't it? Not exactly completely, but strongly. So that's interesting as well.
Yeah, I didn't notice that. So basically, she will not have the problem with the ego and the personality, but she will take the beautiful parts of the Libra sign. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm just going to stop the share there. I think that is, look, we've gone over by 15 minutes, or 16 minutes, 17 minutes now. That's amazing. I told you, remember I said the time would fly, didn't I? The time would fly. So we probably should bring it to a close there. Guys, I hope you found that interesting. It was a bit intense, wasn't it? But I hope this was a further in-depth education for you all into just how we Vedic astrologers can analyze and look at charts and nakshatras. And Anatoly, I want to say thank you so much for joining me. And I think you did very well for your first collaboration. How did you feel about it?
Oh, thank you very much for inviting me. It was a great pleasure. You are an awesome host. I didn't expect it's like a TV show. So it was great. It was a great experience for me. Thank you.
My pleasure, my pleasure. And just for everyone that's watching, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for everyone who has posted their views in the comments. Let me know your views in the comments and what you thought about us going into in-depth in these ways and some of the subjects that we covered. And Anatoly's details are in the video description. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And some of the things I've spoken about as well, they're also in the video description too. Make sure you check out Dan Waite's Astrology. We're talking about the Red Heifers. It is absolutely gripping and it is a real thing. And I just want to thank everyone again for joining us. Thank you so much, Anatoly. We will leave it there now because we've gone way over. But hopefully in the future, we will have Anatoly back for more analysis of the eclipses and stuff going forward. So right now it is a bye-bye, and you will see me tomorrow on my Thursday fry-up. And thank you again, Anatoly, for joining me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Cheers. All right. Bye-bye for now. Cheers.
Bye-bye.